It's the cold hard truth. Everyone really want to know what's going on with her show. Just get on the air and you will know it's Sandra. The queen of the mile road is here, helping people from everywhere. Get on the phone and you will hear Sandra. Now she will tell you how it goes, but don't you ever step on her toes, 'cause you will hear the cold hard truth from Sandra. They say she's the hero in town, helping people from all around. You get a call, your money is found, it's Sandra. Some will call her late at night just to say that there is a fight, and she will not just leave it alone. She'll get up and call on the phone, and when politics starts on her show, everyone really wants to know the way the things will really go with Sandra. And some will start to criticize, get on the show and tell pure lies, but someday we'll realize it's Sandra. And when they start to argue again, she'll pull the heads to the wind, and soon you will be a friend with Sandra. 'Cause every day everyone wants to hear from Sandra. 'Cause every day everyone wants to hear from Sandra. 'Cause every day everyone got to hear from Sandra. 'Cause every day everyone got to hear from Sandra.
Well, good morning and happy Friday. How is everyone doing this beautiful, and I do mean it's beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's a gorgeous Friday morning. How is everyone doing? Oh, yes, my last day of chirping birds and fresh, crisp air, extra crisp in the morning, a little bit of pollen in the atmosphere that has my sinuses a little bit irritated. But hey, I am loving every minute of it. Uh-oh. Last day of vacation. Wow. Oh, man. Can we make it last forever? Absolutely not. It is time. Time to get back to work. I know. Well, you wouldn't enjoy your vacations quite as much if you didn't actually have to work because your whole life would be a vacation. And let me assure you, it's just not the same, right? All right. Hope you guys are having a fabulous Friday thus far. I'm going to be sending out links to everyone here in just a minute. Yeah, it's good. We're up bright and early. Uh-oh, somehow we keep hitting the mute button this morning. Oh boy. Got to watch myself. I was going to say, I'm going to be honest with you guys. We had a great week. I think things went fairly well here on the Cold Hard Truth, despite being having the show remotely. But don't get used to this now, because we're not going to do this every single trip. Oh no. Sometimes we just need to totally disconnect as much as we can, and that will mean no show. But boy, y'all be so upset when I take a little vacation. Miss Amelia be messaging me, "You gone again?" I'm like, "Miss Amelia, hi." Big shout out to Miss Amelia this morning. Where is she? Is she here in class? I'm wondering where she's at. All right, give me 1 second here. I'm going to send out the links to everyone. Yeah, hopefully you guys are doing well. Lots of people messaging me having lost wallets and keys over the last few days. So do remember, if you have lost or you found a wallet or key, by all means, get it turned into us and we'll try to help find the owner. We have a pretty good success rate, so we will help to find them. In fact, yesterday, someone found a passport and we didn't even have to post it up. We were able to reconnect the person because I'm like, wait a minute, I know that last name. And so I messaged and she's like, oh, that's my sister. So I said, okay, well, tell your sister somebody found her passport. I don't even think she knew that the passport was lost. I was like, what? Wow. All right, try to be careful with your passports and stuff. Okay, I don't know why this keeps muting me this morning. I'm not sure what's going on. So I'm going to keep an eye on that button. It's like we're accidentally pressing it, but we're nowhere near the button. Strange. What they say in the Ghostbusters movie, strange things are happening in the neighborhood. Honey, chill. All right. So we got a couple things. We're going to do a little bit of week in review this morning. Big shout out to our Caymanians in Florida group, Windsor Park, Washington Boulevard, communities across the Cayman Islands. So I want to first say that I was able to score an interview this week with a 90-year-old for our Cayman Voices segment, which I'm absolutely so tickled about. It was a very emotional interview, but it was still so wonderful. These interviews really recharge me in a way, and I hope they do the same for you, because our seniors have a lot to share, and I think you're absolutely going to love this one. This is a man who grew up without a mother and a father, basically, and one lost at sea, and then the other one having to readjust her entire life as a result of that loss. And these are the stories of our forefathers, and we should never forget them. And so that's part of what the Cayman Voices series is all about, ensuring that as Caymanians, we actually know where we come from. We can't give that up because too many of our young people don't have a clue. And with every generation, it seems to be getting worse and worse. So our history is so critical and so important because it developed us into who we are. So his story is just absolutely fascinating. And we'll be airing that episode soon. I've got another one that I need to put together post-editing, but man, that one was so long. It's taken me a minute to do the post-editing bit, but we will most certainly get there. So everyone is good, checking in. Please don't forget, if you've registered for the Alex Panton Foundation 9th Annual Youth Symposium that takes place tomorrow at Hotel Indigo. If you did not register, I'm sorry, but following an incredible response from the community, registration for the symposium has been closed. And, tomorrow, which is February the 21st, the event is going to bring together all sorts of experts and powerful discussions centered around this year's theme, which is lighting the way, turning hope into action. From mental health first aid to resilience, neuroscience, creative expression, the program is going to focus on practical insight and everyday application. So explore the full agenda. Even if you're not going, have a look at the agenda, because then next year you might get on top of that registration as soon as the event is announced. I did mine early, honey chill. Yes, sir. But you can check out the full agenda at alexpantonfoundation.ky. So exciting. That's happening this weekend, tomorrow. What else is going on? Posted a video this morning of more careless drivers on our roadway. Ridiculous, if you ask me. But it demonstrates very, very clearly. I thank the person for sending us the video. because it demonstrates very, very clearly why we have so many accidents in our roadways. And it really comes down to user error. It comes down to the fact that, I don't know, y'all need to get it together. Careless driving. Roundabouts are dangerous anyway, but if you don't know how to use one, my goodness. I mean, they shouldn't be dangerous by the nature of what they are, but they are, because a lot of people simply do not know how to use a roundabout. And that was an instance, yet again, if you've seen the video, of people not knowing how to use a roundabout, not giving themselves enough time in a roundabout to actually stop before they try to skirt through it. You got to give way to the right. And if you're not able to pause enough to give way to the right, you're going into that roundabout a little bit too quickly. So that was no bueno. Big shout out to our Instagram listeners this morning as well. I see Just Ask Dean just joined in. Hey, Dean. Queen J. Anglin joined us. Melissa Rankin, good morning. EC Honey. Rome, Mr. Fairclough. Oh my gosh. Some of the names. Calibre Boy. Poco Magnet. Ooh, these Instagram names. How do y'all come up with these? I'll never know. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. It's always nice to see our Instagram listeners here with us. So, yes, it is Friday, and we have, let me adjust my little camera there. Show you more of the lake in the background. There we go. So we got a lot to talk about. I saw the headline this morning, and I'm not entirely surprised, to be quite frank, that the government has put a pause. I am a little bit confused, so I need to digest this somewhat. But it looks like the start date of March the 1st for the new immigration fees has now been put back. And not only has it been put back, but now they're asking for consultation. What the what? I'm confused. So I think what happened here, and I'll be fair to Minister Michael Miles, because I haven't read his full release that came from his ministry. But, okay, y'all gonna have to help me out here, because I think somebody put the cart before the horse. And you see, y'all don't want to be listening to me, and that's okay. You don't have to listen to me, but I'm going to tell you what. I am right more often than I'm not these days. So how did this happen? Am I the only one going, whoa, back it up? I thought we had a launch date. We went through Parliament. We did this, we did that. How are we going backwards now to talk about consultation? You mean that wasn't done before? I'm confused. When you see Auntie looking like this, she's like, I'm actually not surprised. Okay. I'm not surprised. Y'all know some people about to get their feelings hurt. Okay. Y'all need to pump the brakes. In your desire to get things done, and I'm not saying that things don't need to happen and things don't need to be done. You can get it wrong. All of you are familiar with, I think most Caymanians are, hopefully your expat population get it when we say we put the cart before the horse. You know, the horse is supposed to go first. The horse is supposed to pull the cart. So you're too trigger happy. You know, you're sitting here firing all over the place on this radio station, that radio station, all over the place, and you need to pump the brakes. There is something to be said for taking your time, honey child, and getting it right. Because now all you're doing is giving every single naysayer, and I know he claims that we were a naysayer. We not. We have always been in favor of immigration reform. I'm just like, honey, child, take your time. You got to do these things right because you're a first-time minister. Everybody's paying attention. I know Caymanians by default, once you say immigration reform and you're tightening the noose, everybody's happy. Y'all gonna soon find out because Auntie keeps telling you about something called unintended consequences. Y'all happy when it looks good on paper until you start to apply it and then it starts to impact your life. And especially those of you who, like myself, are small business owners, and all of a sudden you can't get no Caymanians to work for you, immigration denying your permits, and then you're like, oh, I have to shut down my business, and then what are you gonna do? And I'm like, you should have thought about that before. Don't become crying at me afterwards. So there has to be balance, right? I saw, for example, big shout out to a friend there. What's his name? Let me tell you. Here. Douglas. What's his first name again? Oh Lord, hold on. I just won't tell you. I'm my friend John Douglas's son. Let me see. Denver. So Denver put up a post which I had to chuckle at. He starts off talking about Trump, and let's just say that's if you're wanting positive immigration change, the first thing you don't do is mention Trump because he's kind of gotten it all wrong. So he made this comment about how he says, I suppose all of you haters of Trump would be okay. And I don't know. Then he said it had nothing to do with Trump. So I'm like, well, why did you mention Trump? Like, it's just stupid. But anyway, would be okay with us having 1,000 illegal immigrants with 200 to 300 criminals out of our 50K immigrants in Cayman. I don't know where he's getting these numbers from because they don't make any sense. But anyway, and you are okay with us having 50,000 immigrants, which is not healthy for anyone's country. Yes, we need immigrants. However, I do believe we would be just fine with about 20% less. Based on what? How do you come to this belief? Right? There are times, and I always say, listen, just like I tell people at CMR, if you don't like something, just keep scrolling because sometimes your brain power isn't really worth even reading it. But I'm like, you're throwing all these numbers out there, and these are just numbers you completely pull out of thin air, makes zero sense, right? And I don't even understand the logic because there is no logic behind such a statement. So he starts out mentioning all those haters of Trump as though Trump has gotten it right. Honey child, please continue to watch the situation in the US and you will see how much Trump has actually gotten wrong as it relates to the same migrants, which by the way, his own companies are hiring. But give it a hot minute and y'all are going to see. You see, this is where our xenophobia, our hate, and I'm going to say our, not me personally, but I'm going to just put us all in a category together. Our hate and dislike of foreign nationals and work permit holders kind of comes into play, and it's completely misguided. If you're sitting down right now and you believe that a work permit holder who is less qualified than you, beneath you in the sense of like economic strata, less qualified, all this kind of stuff, they're the reason why you can't get a job in Cayman, I think you and I need to sit down and have a proper conversation. I'm not saying that reform isn't necessary. I'm saying reform is absolutely 1,000% necessary. But you need to be guided by data, by proper data, and by information, not where you just throw out numbers talking about 50,000 illegals. How the hell are you going to have a population of 80-something thousand people and 50,000 of those are illegals? I don't even know what Mr. Denver was talking about. I felt like he must have hit his head. He must have fell down in his head. Right? So, and yes, as much as we talk about the fact that there are people there and, well, there and here and, you know, in Cayman who are committing crimes, the vast majority of people are not there in Cayman illegally. So he was confusing things. I wasn't sure if he meant to really say illegal immigrants, but he doubled down. He said, yes, I meant to say illegal immigrants. And 200 to 300 criminals. I was like, dude, 1,000 illegal. Anyway, I can't address nonsense because if it don't make no sense, it makes my head hurt. But the overarching viewpoint, which is where I say we need to be careful, is this anti-immigration, anti-immigrants, anti-foreign workers, which not for nothing, but who you think bringing the foreign workers in if it's not Caymanians, right? Even yesterday, somebody, I can't remember who made the comment, oh, it don't make no sense for UCCI to do these courses because Caymanians do it and it's not going to benefit them. And I thought about it, and I didn't want to get into it yesterday with the guests on the show. Certain conversations I feel like we'll have, but when we have guests on, let them have their say, and then, they're busy, let them check out. But I thought to myself, that's interesting because I cannot tell you, well, no, I can't name any Caymanians, even my family members who work in the hotels and stuff like that. I don't know a single one of them who want to be a domestic worker. Chat, please. Caymanians who want to be cleaning up somebody else's backside? Oh, I just dropped my little tablets that I need to take. Hold on. I don't think so. Too many of y'all think you're above that. So we're fighting for something that that our people don't even want. That's what I'm like, okay. Okay. Let me say it again. Okay. Have it make sense. We got to be careful where the conversation is and that it's relevant to what we want. So data-driven decisions. All right. So of course, the new fees are not going to go into effect. And in fact, what this press release that came out late yesterday, essentially does a week before the fees, a week and 2 days before the fees was supposed to come into effect, is a complete policy U-turn. And the government is going to have to explain this to us. So I'm waiting we know that Michael Miles isn't going to come on and explain it. So, I don't know if anybody else can explain it on his behalf. We had a start date. Remember when I was telling you guys, I don't even know when these fees were coming into effect. Y'all told me, Sandy, during the consultation, the one consultation meeting that he said was enough, it was said March the 1st. And I said, oh, okay. We haven't heard anything else leading up to this. And this is where government communications. Remember the minister said in no uncertain terms that he thought that his ministry had done enough of communicating with the people. And I said, you do? I did a poll through multiple channels and 90-something% of you said, no way. There was not enough public education, not enough nothing. And now they kind of proved our point, right? What a point. The point is, I was 1,000% right. There was not enough consultation. There was not enough discussions around it. Point proven, 100%. And now there's a U-turn and backtracking, and here we go. Now you're going to launch a 2-week consultation period that is going to run past the original implementation date. You see, not for nothing. And I'm not trying to pick, because God knows the man kind of in his feelings. And Michael, Minister, the Honorable Michael Miles, please don't get in your feelings, because this ain't about you. This is about how perhaps even you were misguided, right? You're a new minister. Do you really understand how long things take? Do you really understand this is also about change management? You're coming with sweeping changes, sweeping fees, all this sort of thing, and you want people to, child, please, I don't want no explanation, Tracy, sorry, about the delays. It's because if you had listened to us before and we said, this is overly ambitious for March the 1st, there's not enough consultation. The people have spoken. The people have said, I'm going to try to go back and find that poll, that no, we don't understand enough of this. This could have all been avoided. When did I do that poll question, by the way? Let's see. I can't, let me see here now. I don't seem to be able to, you can't in channels? Oh, can you search? No, you can search followers. I'm just trying to see when we did the little question on the, let me see here. Let me go into one of my other groups. I think I would have shared it. Yeah, so, not to be critical, but to be critical. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody needs to be held accountable. What was when did I do the poll about, Lord have mercy. Hold on, honey, child. When did I do the poll about immigration? Does he remember the immigration question? Let me see if I can find it. Because I think it was like 97. Oh, here we go. From January the 4th. Okay, honey, child. Because it was shortly after we had him on the program. Well, he didn't come on the program, but we called him. We called him December 31st. Now I'm remembering. And I said to him, we had a little 25-minute chat about why he doesn't want to come on and blah, blah, blah. And I was able to thankfully work some questions in there. One of the questions I said to him is, do you actually think that you have reached enough people? And he's like, yes, we have. We've done a great job reaching the people and everybody's fine. Everybody's happy with it. And I said, really? Well, that's funny because based on my question, has the government done a good job explaining the incoming immigration changes? 93 of you said no, 18 said yes. And those 18 probably all work in the ministry. Not for nothing, but something wrong. So let me just be very, very frank with you. You have got to listen to the people. Whether you like this platform or not, at any given moment, I can tell you based on the people that are the chatter that's happening, what the pulse of Cayman is. And sometimes you guys as civil servants, as ministers, I don't know, consultants, I don't know what your position is. Sometimes you're not actually listening to the people. You don't know the pulse of the community. And sometimes the pulse of the community changes. Like minimum wage, you guys are all gung-ho. Yeah, we need, $6 an hour. Nobody can survive on that. And as soon as it got increased, kaboom, y'all changing your mind. Oh man, this minimum wage is gonna kill us. And I was like, oh, Lord Jesus. Here I am over here, Lone Ranger, telling you, I'm not saying minimum wage increase isn't needed. What I'm saying is y'all are going to feel it. Almost immediately, things are going to go up. Yeah, and y'all was still like, nope. And what I'm sitting here asking questions like, please tell me, again, data-driven decisions, who does minimum wage, like who's actually making minimum wage, right? Is it Caymanians? Is the increase going to benefit Caymanians? Because you have Caymanian single moms, working households. Now they have to end up paying their helper more. That if they're not making minimum wage, their salary isn't going up, right? But they're going to be paying more because now they have a domestic worker who's entitled to be at the minimum wage range. And y'all weren't. It wasn't clicking. And I keep telling you, unintended consequences. By the way, the phone lines are open. 9362626, but only on WhatsApp because I'm still obviously overseas. So, yeah, we need to get it together. We really need to get it together because in our efforts to try to get things done, if we're pulling the trigger a little bit too quickly, we get trigger happy. You become ineffective and everybody starts to look at you with a side eye, and then they're like, oh Jesus, no, 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 no. It's not looking good. Somebody mentions this. First, the e-bike scooter rollback. Let's see if it actually takes place effective March 1st. And now this, not a good look. So somebody says, speak the truth and shame the devil, honey child. All right. So someone says the following. They're going to come to his defense a little bit. They said this, and again, you know, I guess if we're going to really pull this apart, I guess they have a point here. So they said, well, he didn't say, and again, this is lack of clarity as far as I'm concerned, because I was like, what? So he didn't say it would be effective March the 1st. I watched that and specifically remember that. He said it would not be before March the 1st. He didn't have a date, but was clarifying that it wasn't coming into effect on January the 1st, along with minimum wage, and not before March the 1st. That's not a commitment to be an effective date of March the 1st. Okay. So when was it coming into effect? You see how people are confused? I mean, I understand you, and I'm reading this, and I have to pull it apart, and I understand what you're saying. But when was it actually coming into effect? You're telling us that legislation soon come? Like we don't even know when? After this date could be 5-10 years from now. So when you say not before March the 1st, I guess most people would kind of assume that, okay, we're looking at sometime after March the 1st. What we weren't thinking is that we'd be starting consultation now at this late in the game. So to me, that still doesn't, I'm confused. Okay. So you mean we couldn't have had all these months that we've been sitting on this saying not till March the 1st, we couldn't have had consultation and had it for a longer period of time? I'm just, if somebody can explain this one to me, by all means, do so. I'm open to hearing what you have to say. So consultation all of a sudden started tomorrow. I mean, yesterday, my apologies. The consultation window is now the 19th of February through the March the 1st. But let me go back to that person's point, because in the press release from government, let me see if I can pull this up now, because I know I'm not going crazy. Because in the press release from government, it actually says, let me find the point right here. Okay. The ministry has also advised that March the 1st, 2026 is no longer the commencement date for the new legislation. So you almost had me convinced, caller. I know you said you listened to it carefully, and you had me questioning myself if that was the actual date, and did he give a firm commitment? But in their own words, I'm going to share the press release with you, because I don't want you to take my word for it. I want you to read it for yourself. In their own words, they said that was the commencement date. I'm just saying, I don't have a kaboom button here today, but if I had one, I'd be hitting it right about now. So this again is where there's a degree of confusion. Why would they say that was the commencement date if that wasn't the commencement date? So I know you said you didn't hear it, but I think most other people heard March the 1st. And by their own admission, in quotations, March the 1st is no longer the commencement date. That's an exact quote from yesterday's press statement. Okay, no replacement date. Now, if I was being a fair and balanced person, which I hope to God I am on most days. You know, I'm not fair and balanced when it comes to them sex molesters and them people. Okay. They don't get no consideration for me. But most other people get a little bit of consideration. So if I was being fair and balanced to the minister, and he has to be open to public commentary, constructive criticism, this no signaling of a new date or anything like that signals weak planning and suggests that at the very minimum, cabinet or the ministry proceeded with drafting and public messaging before process, logistics, right? Or you could even argue political backing was secured for these changes. Okay. So, you know, these press releases can be interesting in how they're worded. And I do a lot of times just pass them along to Renee. And I'm like, honey, child, you do this story. But when it comes to the public discourse side of it, I got to read it and I got to try to interpret exactly what it is that they're saying. Right? Let's talk about governance, good governance and transparency. So now they're framing this as a routine consultation for the first time in over 15 years. Okay. Yes, that certainly implies that these are long overdue reform, which we know. And yet, if it's the first time in over 15 years we're going to have immigration reform, this last minute delay, literally a week out from the implementation date of May the 1st, suggests to me that key stakeholders, employers, immigration practitioners, right? Even the parliamentarian backbenchers, they were not properly engaged earlier. Because then why are we doing this now? Right? So the release does not actually acknowledge that the initial March the 1st date is being revised. It simply states that it is no longer the commencement date and that a new one will be forthcoming. Okay. So, of course, any critic looking at this again as objectively as we possibly can is thinking, why are you not explaining why the change was mishandled or what went wrong in the approval process? You know, sometimes you have just got to admit, I keep telling you guys, we're all human beings. We are all subject to poor decisions at times, not enough experience. These are the kind of mistakes that you make. And the thing about us as human beings is we are willing to forgive and forget a lot. But it requires the person acknowledging that, you know what? I have misstepped. I've made an error in judgment, an error in how this was going to impact Caymanian businesses across the board, et cetera, et cetera. And we needed to fall back a little bit and take some more time. The people deserve an explanation for something that has been lauded and talked about, you know, going on all the media circuits. You know, he was on with Tammy. He was on with this one. He's been on Radio Cayman more times than Quaker has oats, right? And so everything sounded so good and so firm. But we also know, folks, that the devil is in the details. And if you don't know by now, especially when it comes to legislation, that you go and mess that up, right? We do have a good portion of our population that rely on work permits. Okay? The government's increasing fees in other ways, including immigration. You go mess that up, you may be doing more damage than good, even for the Caymanians. But the Caymanians not gonna realize it until it's too late. Because y'all are just like, yeah, we need to do something about these work permit holders. We need to do something about, we can have 50,000 illegal immigrants here. You see, this is the nonsense that Caymanians are engaging in. I'm gonna call it nonsense because that's what it is, without fully understanding what it is that they even say. Okay? You can say 50,000 immigrants isn't healthy for anyone's country. Where do you see 50,000 immigrants? Right? When you make these arguments and you throw out these just arbitrary numbers that don't even hold true, yes, that is a problem. And Cayman is a little bit different in terms of our industries and how we operate and our reliance. Yes, we've got a very, very strong reliance on permit holders. And I think, to be fair, what most Caymanians believe is that, listen, if I'm a qualified Caymanian, qualified, hardworking Caymanian, all I'm saying is, in my own country, I should get first preference at training opportunities in the workplace, job opportunities in the workplace, etc. But we also need to look at the reality of what's happening in the industries that exist and acknowledge a few things that are happening. There are a lot of businesses in Cayman that struggle to keep workers, and they struggle even more to keep Caymanian workers, because Caymanian workers not into some of these industries and some of these jobs. I'm not saying all the time. I'm saying by and large, there's going to be a struggle for those businesses to stay afloat. So if you take a broad brush and be like, okay, no more permits to be granted, everyone's going to pay this fee and that fee and whatever, you are actually hurting small businesses more than anything else. And that's all I'm saying. Look at the data. Do we even have the data? How are we making these decisions? And let's ensure that we are making decisions that will actually ultimately benefit Caymanians. And not in 6 months, then the Caymanians crying down, boy, they didn't get this right and blah, blah, blah. What my experience has been is that oftentimes extreme movements, one way or the other, are going to be detrimental to the very people that you are trying to help. Same exact thing happening in the United States of America, right? Oh, we're going to take all these immigrants out, illegal or otherwise, at this point, right? We're going to deport them all at one time. Then all of a sudden, oops, well, now we don't have anybody to work the strawberry fields because the Americans not doing that. Sorry for you. They don't want those jobs. They don't want to be out there mashing raisins to make some wine in California. They don't want to be out there picking strawberries. So now the citrus and strawberry industries are going to be, nobody to work them. Crops are going to waste. Or if you want Americans to work them, you got to pay them a ridiculously high wage, whereas the immigrant was willing to work for far less than that. Americans not going out in that hot sun and working for less than $20 an hour. So now your wine is going to increase, your juice is going to increase, all this other stuff. Anybody thought about those things? I'm not saying that anybody should be supporting illegal immigration, but in the context of the United States of America, illegal immigrants have found their niche in certain areas. And unless you have a solid plan on how you replace them, pulling them out of the system does what? It leaves a void that you haven't even thought of. The Trump administration has not thought about it. Once again, look at his own Mar-a-Lago, his own Trump, what's that business that he has there? The golf course or whatever in Florida. Same thing. Just the other day, we're going to decrease the minimum wage back down for these people. And then he runs out there because that law was changed and cut the salary of these so-called migrant workers by $2 an hour. Because y'all really think he cares about what people making a living wage or not? He don't give no cahoots about that. So I'm just asking for Speedy Gonzalez changes and ministers or governments around the world to kind of pump the brakes a little bit. Take the time to think about what it is that you're doing. Because now, with good reason, The community has lost confidence in you. As much as y'all want to, hooray, yeah, immigrant reform, let's do it, mamacita, get rid of them people. I'm just saying, honey chill. Right now, y'all like, oops, big misstep. And then what other missteps? Like someone just said, boy, they done screwed up the e-bike situation. That wasn't handled properly. You had to pull back on that. Now you pull back on it. I'm just saying, like Evelyn said, a bag of confusion. And who wants a bag of confusion? Marshall says he was too hot-headed to listen to the people. Well, this is what happens when you don't listen to people, and who you should be listening to, Mr. Miles. What in the world is going on with that? Shouldn't they have thought about consulting with the people first? Now they are looking like a donkey, says Marshall. Strong Will says, kaboom to you, Auntie Sandy. You are so right. Anthony, morning, Anthony. Anthony says, immigration reform mess then compound the situation with increased wages for small businesses. The government is on a good track, but they will be killed by the polls in 2029 with the increased cost of living, which they will never get under control now with all this under Minister Miles' portfolios. And I keep telling y'all, them prospect people not very forgiving, you know. Lord Jesus. Y'all need to know about prospect. Let me tell you about them. No, sir. They move you quicker than I don't know what before you can sneeze. Morning, Felicia. Lavana's in the house. Miss Gina, Abby, buenos dias. We got over 300 people now in the live stream. Just trying to get through your comments. Drone K-Man 345 says, how many e-bikes and scooters have been made legal since the implementation of enforcement was put back? Data-driven decisions, only God knows, because we ain't got it. And again, that comes into force March the 1st. Marshall says good proper consultation is what should have taken place first. Now he'll definitely be in his feelings because we're talking about it on CMR. And, you know, I have a job to do, and it's certainly not my desire to hurt anybody's feelings, but I also sit here every single day and I have to not care about hurting your feelings because God knows some of y'all are so sensitive that, you know, I sneeze and it hurts your feelings. And so that can't be what guides me. What guides what I have to do is really based on what is in the best interest of us, Caymanians, and we the people, generally speaking. Evelyn said, I heard by March the 1st, and I listened to two of the most accurate talk shows who break things down to a T. Buenos dias, Senora Alba. ¿Cómo estás? Damien, good morning, says, I've already realized I'm trying to get a TWP temporary, and it's already cost me $500 in express fees, the fee and appeal, and I'm about ready to not bother after 1 month and still waiting. You see, y'all don't, like I said, the struggles for small businesses and the irony of it, Damien, I tell you the truth, the companies that need the most oversight, right, with this whole permit thing, the big law firms, the accounting firms, you know, those positions that you're like, why are they hiring an expat in this job? Why are they not training Caymanians, right, to be paralegals and lawyers and all this kind of stuff? They're the ones who have the resources. This is the funny part about it, Damien. This is, you know, irony at its best. They're the ones who have the resources to appeal something through the wazoo, the resources to pay big shot lawyers, the resources to get government administrators and government in a little, you know, bind, like, oh my God, if we turn down this permit, they can sue us. They're the ones taking all the lawsuits to HSM when they don't get status and they don't get this and they don't get that. And not really the little people like me and you know, who trying to operate a business on you know, bare bone staff. We're not the ones who have the resources and sometimes even the know-how to fight the system when we can't get a permit and we really need a permit. We've advertised, we tried to hire Caymanians. They don't know the struggle of hiring Caymanian. They show up because, they feel like they can. They show up to work when they feel like it or not at all. I remember the few Caymanians I've had hired, how hard it has been. Every single day with this particular one, it was an excuse. Oh, husband got stabbed last night. Next week, oh, car accident. Next week, baby sick. Next week, and I'm like, what the I mean, girl, you got more problems than you know what to do with? And I'm like, listen, I can't run a business where I only have like the one person operating my little shop. I can't run a business like that where from day to day, I don't even know if you're going to be showing up because somebody else in the family is about to get stabbed, shot, drunk and fall off their bicycle, all kind of excuses. And so you know what I did? I said, okay, look, this is not going to work. I had to let her go. And because I wasn't fooling with immigration and, oh, you need permit, but you better try and hire Caymanians, I said, no. I will handle the business myself as best I can, let go of the physical brick and mortar retail store. People just have to come through me. And the day that I start to get too busy where I can't handle it on my own, then I'll say, okay, I can't take on any more customers. I will have to manage and stifle the growth of my business in order to not have to take on the headache of staffing, because it's a headache in more ways than one. It's not just immigration. It's everything that gets into the mix when you have to hire staff. Miss Speak Your Mind says, Miss Sandy, you're speaking facts. Well, thank you, ma'am. Marjorie said, he said school children age 14 could do those jobs. Oh, Trump. Well, then make them go do it. Because I don't see them doing it. That's not what's happening in the United States at all. Ricardo says, why is rent there so high? Rent costing more than your pay. You have to live with other persons to make up help to pay rent. As a lady, most of them are having 3 and 4 men just to help them to pay their rent because their pay can't make sense. Well, that's a complicated question, Ricardo. It's not quite as simple as that. And what I will say is this. By comparison, there are a lot of places in the world, including the United States of America, where the average person working on the average wage, is struggling with housing. Same thing in Canada. There are lots of places where affordable housing is a problem. And I don't mean just the big cities like New York, where you get a 200 square foot apartment where basically you're cooking and having a shower and using the toilet all in one little box, one little room, and paying exorbitant prices. I was speaking to someone last night and they were saying that when they used to work as a transit police in New York, there are people who actually live underneath. I forget what the area is, but like under the tunnels, basically in New York, there are people who live down there. They jerry rig their little electricity and whatever. And they come out during the day, they shower, they come out, they go to their jobs. And at night, they go underground and that's where they live. And then the police come and they kick them out from one area, they move to another area because they can't afford housing in these places. So, rent is one of the driving forces of the cost of living. And it's not just residential rent, it's commercial rents. It's, it's a lot of what we spend. If you can finally get a house, you're going to pay a premium for that. But one of the things that I want to say, especially for the Caymanians, when it comes to jobs, we've got to stop thinking about, because we're stuck at this conversation about minimum wage. And I can tell you, if you are an adult and you're making minimum wage, we need to have a coming to Jesus conversation. Why? Why are you 30, 35, 40 years old and worried about minimum wage? Minimum wage is for school leavers. When they come out of school, that's where you start. Everybody has been there. You're bagging groceries at Foster's, that's a minimum wage job, right? You're pumping gas, maybe that's a minimum wage job. But you should never think that your entire lifespan is going to be spent at minimum wage. Now that comes to you upskilling yourself, making sure that you have a skill set that is going to demand more than a minimum wage. Denny, good morning, says the e-bike situation is actually an attempt to totally ban bikes. Honing wrong? What? Oh, gone wrong. Well, the ministry has said that that's not their intentions at all, but they want people to be legal. And I can see based on the number of accidents that we're having in our roadways, that why y'all need to be. Y'all need to have insurance for real. Because sometimes you're causing the accidents and sometimes you are, a victim in the accident. And so you need to be legal just like anybody else. Strong Will says, Auntie, you're killing me this morning. I have the same problem with workers with my business. Honey, child, let me tell you. People don't understand. And until you've been there, you've done it, right? No. Give this Caymanian a chance. My God. I know another business owner. She's like, every time she hires a Caymanian, she said, you know what they do? She said every public holiday, the Monday is the public holiday, the Tuesday, they got called in sick. Something gonna happen. They drank too much over the weekend. Oh, they got a hangover. They got a headache. If somebody's sick, something happened. Every single, without fail, every single public holiday, they want the Tuesday off as well as the Monday. Yeah. And then I remember she was trying to hire this little guy there from Windsor Park. And I went and sat down and spoke to his mother. Okay, he can get a little job because they're all sitting at home, don't want to work. Oh, I got anxiety. I suffer from anxiety and my son got anxiety. I'm like, yeah, you've given your son anxiety. You've sat down for a good part of this child's life from when he was in middle school, probably elementary school, constantly talking about your anxiety. And you've embedded that into that young man's brain. You've made him anxious because you're anxious all the time. Parents, we were talking about, it's so funny because Monday we started the conversation. Do better by your children. Set a better example, right? Now, I'm not saying that they're not people who legitimately have anxiety and there's mental health issues. That's why y'all need to go get mental health professionals to assist you. You go to the Alex Panton Foundation. They give you a list of experts. You go to their symposium. You can understand a lot about how to help yourself and how to help young people around you. But sometimes we create the situations that we are in. It's so funny because something happened this week and I can't remember what it was. I was walking in the parking lot and I said, oh, Gianna was telling me how she had like a dream, a nightmare or something. And I said, oh, I wonder if you have a little bit of anxiety. And she's like, what's anxiety? And I was like, isn't that interesting? I have a 9-year-old who doesn't have a clue what anxiety means. Now, do you think that means that I live without anxiety? No, but I'm not sitting here telling her about my anxiety, dwelling on whatever anxiety I have, right? And then transporting that hypochondriac onto this child. She legit was like, what is anxiety? I was like, that's interesting that you don't even know. So there are times that we need to take accountability because even our children, the way they see the world, the way that they are, adjusting to this big world and big universe is a direct result of the messaging that we have been giving them throughout their lives. So when the little boy shows up to work, 19, 20 years old, he's full of anxiety. And I'm like, what's causing your anxiety? What's going on? I don't know. My mom has been anxious. So I'm anxious too because I get it from her. I'm just like, Lord Jesus, take the bus. Forget the wheels. Just take the whole bus. Damien says, especially in New York and California, very expensive to live. And, they're expensive to live. You might make a better wage, but it doesn't go far when you're expensive. But it's all over the place. Go to Canada. Do your research on Canada and the housing crisis there. It's a lot of places. And so when we look at our little section of the world, we have some big problems too. All right. Damon says this is what teenagers can do for work: bagging groceries, babysitting, elderly care, cutting yards. Yep. Tartarian says, why is there blame why is there blame aimed towards the government? Small businesses were always struggling. 10 years ago, I worked for a well-known small business who could not pay me full wages. We used to work for lunch. We used to work for lunch at, then it got cut off. I mean, without a doubt, Tartarian, small and medium-sized businesses, they do, maybe even some of the larger businesses, because we think they're making millions of dollars, but there is a struggle in that when things change, they feel it a lot quicker. No one is here blaming the government for that, because I have always said that in a lot of instances, what pushes the cost of living in Cayman, especially since we literally import every single thing, our government has zero control over. Okay? They just need to be honest with the people. So when we're having these conversations, they need to say, cost of living, I can't do much about that because of XYZ. The things that the government can do is ABC, right? So there's some things that they can't touch and do anything about, and there are other things that they can. Okay? So one of the things that they've said we can do something about is trying to push solar, large scale solar, because we live in the Caribbean. We got lots of sun a lot of the times. Okay, fair enough. Because on the opposite side of that spectrum, what they can't do anything about is what the cost of fuel is, because that is determined by a lot of different factors happening around the world, right? So, access to fuel, where it's being transported from, what the cost of that is. They try on that end to control it somewhat by telling the two importers, Sol and Rubus, that, okay, you can only make so much of a profit, so much of a margin. So they do regulate it. It's not a complete free for all, right? But you can't overly regulate any industry because people are not going to even want to be in that business. So they allow them to make a little bit of a profit. Yep, you can make your little profit. But then that fuel cost impacts everything that we do because we all need to use electricity. So the government says, okay, there's not a whole lot more that we can do on that end. But what we can do is we have larger scale solar, then we are allowing people to utilize these renewable energy options, which would make more sense because you can save a lot of money on renewable energy. And maybe we can get people to the point where, even if it's 25, 30, 40% savings on your utility bill, if that's coming from solar, that still helps a whole lot. Nathina says facts, but some couldn't afford to upscale their education. Plus, Cayman is not a forgiving country with giving people an opportunity who fail and try again. Once you fail, that is how you are labeled. We're not a community of empowering each other. You know what, Nathina? Yes and no, because I have seen epic situations where Caymanians demonstrate that they actually are very, very forgiving. Now, the way in which we're not forgiving is we always talk about your business. I mean, you know that already. So yeah, you'll be able to get the job and whatever, but people are not gonna forget that you killed somebody or the DUI or whatever. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're never gonna get hired. Even government has a second chances program. Big shout out to the deputy governor. He's like, we need to give Caymanians second chances. Okay, we're hiring convicts. I don't know how much more of a second chance y'all want. I mean, does that mean that every single time people see you, they're not going to remember what you did? No. So we're not forgiving in that way. I'll give you credit there, right? That's just small town mentality, to be honest. However, take Canova Watson, for example. The man commits government fraud into the millions of dollars. And what does he do when he comes out? He gets a big time management job at what a car place name there again, which I was a bit surprised at. I'm like, someone who basically stole from the government continues to get a job around people money. I'm like, in fact, this is an example of how incredibly forgiving K-Man actually is. I'm like, wow, you guys are amazingly forgiving. I'm just saying. Then again, some people got more luck than what is the what's the saying about, oh Lord have mercy. I can't remember the saying now. Something and something don't have the same luck or something. Which one is that? So, I mean, you know, there's multiple angles to that. I think we agree that the vast majority of people need second chances. But what happens is some of those people who are asking for a second chance, they continually make this mistake over and over again. So then it becomes a question of, okay, how many second chances are you expecting to get? This is not the 50th chance program. It's the second chance program. Just saying. All right. Nathina also says a lot of companies acknowledge mental health or feel time should be given either with or without pay to get help. And that is very, very true. And I think that we could definitely make some improvements with that. But, you know, also from a small business perspective, let me be honest, right? If I only have 1 or 2 staff members, I can't afford to hire someone who has continuing mental health issues and needs to constantly be taken work off, whether they're paid or not, because it's not even about the payment at some point. It's like, I need a body there for my business to be able to function properly. And when that doesn't happen, then I need to find somebody else. So, you know, if you're Maples and Calden, you got 500 people working for you and one person has, you know, issues and they need to take an extended amount of time off, maybe then you can flex because you got enough workers or you can afford to bring somebody in, but not every business. And this is where, as workers, a lot of times we don't appreciate what employers have to deal with, what employers have to go through. And there's lots of businesses in the service industry in particular. 1 or 2 people being out per week can have a detrimental impact on their ability to be able to offer the services that they need to offer. Damien says immigration reform in the Cayman Islands was rushed without thorough planning, creating unintended consequences and forcing policymakers to address complex, avoidable policy and administrative challenges. Well, I mean, I don't think anybody can really be arguing with you this morning, Damien. That's obviously why we're even having this discussion and why things are being backtracked here. Damien says, yep, and depressed and smoking weed to get over it. Oh, Lord have mercy. Denny says, hashtag March the 1st, 2026 is no longer, but it never was. Really? I'm catching up on some messages. Nathina says, my beloved Sandy, you're speaking facts, but unfortunately 10 men, 10 different mindset. And unfortunately, there might be 1 out of the 10 might like you and I, the others don't give a. Barbara G, good morning. I'd like to congratulate the government and persons involved with the magnificent organization of the Agriculture Show event this year. Oh, okay. I'll pass that on to them. The traffic was handled flawlessly. The shuttle buses carrying happy people to and from the grounds continuously the entire day left us with a beautiful memory of the day. Thanks again. All right, Barbara. Not on topic, but we'll pass it on nonetheless. My apologies. Okay. All righty. Let me see now. Sophia, good morning. TGIF says Wanda. Then Quaker got oats. Yes, honey champ. Nathina says puss and dog don't have the same. Yes, that's it. Puss and dog. Definitely not. Puss and dog was the one I was thinking of. Puss and dog not got the same luck. The lowering of import duties is not the way to go, as the premier suggested. That do very little, in fact. He suggested that we should lower import duties? When was that said? All that will do is make a shortage in government revenue, basically kicking the can down the road. It needs to come across the board in all sectors: energy, insurance, grocery, and transportation. Well, again, I think the top 3 which tends to be like housing. That's mortgages, rent, even businesses. But again, let me be clear. There's a business. I'll talk about more about my vacation next week. But we patronized the business the other day. It's a nice little restaurant, and it's based on like a religious concept. Which, I mean, when I say that, it's named after a book of the Bible. And so they have more of an organic style menu. And I was saying to our cousins, I'm like, oh, the food's all right. It wasn't bad. It was good. And I said, he said, they're struggling to make ends meet. And I looked at the size of the place and I said, what is a place like this cost in run of the mill America? And he said, they're probably paying about 15 grand a month in rent. And I was like, snaps, these came on prices, honey child. And I said, really? And he said, yep. Restaurants are the hardest businesses to get into. You got a lot of overhead. You've got kitchen overhead, like the equipment. You've got staffing overhead. My apologies. You've got rent. You need place to seat people, all this sort of thing. And he was saying that, because it's kind of based on this religious concept, more clean eating and whatever, the churches in the area try to also support them. And, a lot of church people then will go there, and they had people kind of trickling in and out, but it wasn't like they were super busy. And of course, it made me think about even the type of business that you decide to have is challenging, because certain businesses come with particular type of challenges. And you've got to know this before you get into business. Everybody's like, oh, I want to run and open up a restaurant. I'm like, Erks, you could never get me. And I remember when I used to do all my little Sunday cooking, people were like, oh my God, Sandy, you cook so good. You should open up a restaurant. I was like, child, please. You could not pay me to open a restaurant, because I know a little bit about the cost. My dad used to have a little restaurant, Top Taste, right? I know the cost of food, and I don't care if it was in the 80s, the 90s, it has never been cheap to run a restaurant. So when you sit down, you eat that plate of food and you complaining, boy, oxtail getting expensive. You don't understand. It's not about the oxtail. It's the oxtail. It's the rent if you don't own the place yourself. It's the staff that you got to pay. It's the oil that you're cooking with. It's all of these things. So I hear y'all talking about, Popeye's chicken gone up and this and that. Let me tell you something. I would be surprised if those fast food places are making much of a profit, right? Because of where they're located, their rent's not gonna be cheap. As a matter of fact, a little birdie told me that the one by the courthouse, they gotta just shut that one down because it don't make no business sense to keep that one open. On weekends, they're dead as a doorknob, right? So they lose 2 critical days. During the week, they might get some staff in the area walking around, whatever. But that whole quadrant of town, because of rent prices in particular, it's very, very difficult to operate a business. That's why so many of the businesses have shut down. And then with all of the revitalization projects that were going on, that helped to kill them off sooner than, I'm pretty sure they all would have eventually died. Don't get me wrong, because Bluestone, which I loved having Bluestone there to grab a little bite to eat, they were already struggling before the road works and stuff was happening. And so, I wasn't surprised. They tried to rebrand. They tried to get out of, because they were, paying a franchise fee for the Bluestone Cafe label, which I didn't even know that was a franchise initially. But anyway, franchises are very, very expensive. So when you see a Popeyes, you see a Burger King, you see a KFC, Wendy's, these people, the first thing they got to pay is a franchise fee. And they can run a lot of money. And they have to do all the branding by the franchise. The franchise has rules. Do you know that the franchise even has rules about what they must, how much of their money that they make that they have to spend on marketing? They don't have a choice. Yeah. So when they try to cut back, well, the franchise agreement says you've got to spend X amount on marketing your location of Burger King, for example. And so now these companies, because they've already increased food prices more than they can, now they're going to start cutting. And I can tell you for a fact that they're doing this. They are cutting their budgets, and that impacts other small businesses. So they can no longer advertise on a CMR. They can no longer advertise, cutting the budget for the Compass and other businesses. So there's a trickle down effect that people do not think about. When your costs go up, you need to look at how you are going to save money. And there's only so many ways and so many things that you can cut and still try to offer that service, or you shut your doors completely. Okay? So once again, the whole minimum wage argument, the companies that are going to have to shutter their doors, they were already, to be clear, tethering on the edge. They're already barely making it, right? Probably living off of credit, skipping every month to pay the CUC bill. They're already doing all of those things. And now that they have to pay more with staff, they're going to have to pay, some people have now cut back overtime because they can't afford to do it at the new rate because the minimum wage is increased. So it's actually cheaper for them to try to hire more staff and pay them the base rate, not give people as many hours. So then that has a trickle down effect of the workers themselves going, okay, before, yes, I was only making $6 an hour, but I could accrue a bunch of overtime and maybe even double or more my salary. Now that the minimum wage has been increased, my employer can no longer afford to give me any overtime. So now I'm struggling more than I was before the minimum wage increased. Did anybody think about all these elements? I'm just saying, because the businesses will find ways to cut the fat any way that they can. They have to if they wish to survive. Anthony says the show is organized by the society, funded by the government, so give them credit too. All right. Damien says it's hard, stressful being a business owner. Oh, honey, chill. That'll give you anxiety. Damien says yes, but KFC seems to be doing well. How would you know that? I mean, they got the volumes without a doubt. When you have a high volume business, I guess, you always seem to be doing well, but the very chicken alone has gone up, right? You can't look at a business and say that they seem to be doing well because you don't know that. And so, all you can say is they haven't shut down their doors yet. Once again, the restaurant industry all over the world is struggling. Look at the number of franchises and restaurants that have shut their doors in the UK, especially post-COVID, during post-COVID, in the US, in Canada, all over the world. It was already a tough business to be in, and it is getting tougher all the time. You find a niche, and you get a lot of people walking through your door, then, Amelia's restaurant, did they ever reopen anywhere? Some of y'all sitting there, well, they used to make good money. They were always busy. They would sell out of the turtle. That doesn't mean that they're that don't mean that they're making a profit. You understand me? So you can't look at a business without you seeing the numbers in the books because you don't know their overhead. So you can think they're doing well all you want until you see, oh, wow, rent is 15, 20 grand a month. Staff is this. Health insurance, pension liabilities, insurance, business insurance, because they all got to have business insurance. That's another 50, 60, 70, 100 grand a year. Listen, until you have a business, you don't know what all is involved in running it. Trust and believe. Miss Sue says, so true, Sandy. We had a bar restaurant key in the 80s, hard work, and we were so busy, but still overhead cost us a lot of money back then. This person says you're calling me on the wrong number, honey child. 936-2626 if you're trying to call the show. Okay, 936-2626. You're calling the wrong number, child. Wrong number. This person says, but Sandra, what about John's idea of opening a government store where people can buy goods for cheap? Lord Jesus. All right. Good morning, caller. And please, listeners, let me know if you can hear the caller. Okay. Good morning.
Good morning, Sandra. How are you doing?
Not bad. How are you?
I'm all right. I tell you about that sunlight filter that you have on now.
Sunlight.
Oh, like that's real sunlight.
No.
You gotta bring some of that sunlight back to Cayman when you're doing the show.
I know. I think I'm gonna try to do a show outdoors every once in a while because it's nice to be in a
trying to
different
tell you
environment.
look beautiful. I'm telling you look beautiful.
Oh my goodness! Thank you. No filters, no filters, NHL. But listen, I be loving a filter because that means that I don't have to put on no makeup, which I don't really wear anyway. But anyway, good morning.
Good morning. Now, you remember when I called in a few times? I talked about some of these consequences about the minimum wage increase.
Yep.
So watch what's gonna happen down the road now, right? There's going to be a restructuring of the labor market because of these minimum wage increase. You're going to get fewer entry-level jobs. They're going to start talking about higher experience required for basic jobs. And the employers are going to quietly start raising their productivity expectations without raising the staffing levels. And what's going to happen, what's going to end up happening, you're going to have young Caymanians trying to enter the workforce, right? Just trying to get a handle on the first rung of the ladder, and they won't be able to do so because you've raised the wage floor, and the opportunity floor disappears. Right? Then what gonna happen? Because of the higher minimum wages, right? And you have the increase in permit costs because fees are often tiered by salary, correct? Right?
Yeah.
Employers are going to be pushed now to justify their hires more carefully. And it's going to potentially incentivize higher skilled imports over training locals. So what happens is that now you have a policy intent to empower Caymans, but now the unintended effect of that could be now you have fewer low skill entry roles and more imported jobs. Right? So all of this, when you have an intended consequence, I mean, for me, I said it from day one. I was against the minimum wage.
Yes.
From day one, right? When this was talked about 10, 11 years ago. And I was one of those Caymanians that was, you're less and, people need to live and I was saying the same thing 11 years ago that you saying now. People not meant to live on minimum wages for those who don't have any work skills just coming out of school, for the retirees who don't have nothing to do, house done paid off, car done paid off. That's what quote unquote minimum wage type jobs. It should be whatever your employer, provided that they're in step with the labor law in terms of we call it now insurance and pension and that kind of thing. Outside of that, when it comes to pay, it should be government's only role should be in enforcing the contract. Government shouldn't step in and say, well, no, you have to pay them this minimum, because all it does is it's going to lead to inefficiencies in the market. So anyway.
Yeah, I mean, and listen, this is why I say we have the ESO group, right? They collect data, but the proper collection of data is one thing. Then the interpretation of that data is important. And we need to build policies. We need to build decision making. That's why I call it the triple D, data-driven decisions based on what the numbers are showing us. And we need to look at other countries around the world to see what else has worked for them as well as what hasn't worked for them. Because we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We don't need to keep putting policies in place and then get it wrong. Because we've seen other countries lead by example in that regard. So if something doesn't work for them, it's not necessarily that it's a carbon copy of what we were doing, but those should be lessons. This is where our leaders, and why I keep agitating for the people of this country to try and pick as representatives of the people individuals who have the capacity of this higher level kind of thinking. Because if you keep electing your cousin John from Baden Town to be the MP, and he don't have no sense and no concept of how to read a report, how to interpret data, or how to even sit down with the people who do the data collection and will provide the reports, why are you electing people like that? How are they going to benefit your life? Giving you $100 come election time, not helping nobody. And then you got to suffer for the next 3.5 years. So we have a part to play in the solution. Elected members have a part to play in the solution. The civil service has a big part to play because we rely on their expertise, on their knowledge, on their guidance. So when these guys sit down and do budget forecasting, right? They decide where to increase fees, what fees haven't been increased in 20, 25 years. All of that comes with consultation, yes, with the civil service. They're one of the stakeholders. But it should also be industry consultants and stakeholders as well. So there's a lot of moving parts to this. And the more I sit in this chair, caller, and have these discussions and kind of think through some of this, I think that one of the biggest problems that we as Caymanians have is our desire to oversimplify every single thing. Oh, just get rid of the work permit.
We want to eat it too.
Yeah, just get rid of the permit, people. Just increase minimum wage. Like that is going to be this magic, solution. And I'm thinking, it is not that simple. So more and more, I find myself again scrolling through social media and engaging with people. They'll send me these things, and I go, it's not that simple. If it was that simple, we wouldn't have no problems. Thank you, caller.
All right, thank you.
All right, my dear. Marshall says, not just a business, but a successful business. Marjorie says that some restaurants have to close on holidays now. They can't afford the holiday pay. Tartarian says, would the caller be thinking this way if the minimum wage started at $8.75? I guess he can respond to that, but he has said, obviously he knows what minimum wage is now. He has said that, although he was an advocate previously of minimum wage, he has since changed his mind. So Amelia just cook out of home on Fridays. Yeah, somebody else, I think Miss Marjorie said that on the chat as well. So again, you go from having a restaurant 7 days a week to now just cooking on Fridays. But it makes sense for them because they simply can't afford to have the staff and the full-time cooking all the time. You do what you got to do. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Sandra. Good morning.
Morning, dear. How are you?
Boy, I must say, from you started, you've been calling my name, because this thing is really affecting, and people don't understand what the effect is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this minimum wage raise I'm talking about, like I said from before, if the government can't control the retailers from raising their price, they should never raise minimum wage because it only affects a few, but it affects all. Because if I'm making $60 an hour and you raise my pay to $8.75, but yet my employer can raise everything in the store and everybody's going to raise accordingly, where has the effect been made? Have I really gotten a raise, or what's going on? Well,
you gotta raise and then because you gotta raise, but now you're spending more money to survive.
Exactly. So you haven't really got a raise. Okay. Well, I want to show you where this affect me personally. Okay.
And by the way, caller, let me just interject this quickly. I'm actually looking at doing at least 1 or 2 shows on the minimum wage and what is now driving the cost of for small and medium-sized businesses with some industry people. I've already been in talks with them. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks, that discussion will be coming up as a completely separate show as well. But continue.
I will be fully in tune when that comes on too. Yes, but we talking about restaurant running and stuff, right? And you were saying that it costs all this money to run these restaurants and stuff. But at the same time, the restaurants can't just do what they want to do nilly-willy, because I can give you an instance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I can call out one place, Popeyes,
Mm-hmm.
because I could call many more, but that's going on them. I have a receipt from them, and that's going to be my last receipt I ever get from them. Reason being, I used to buy their chicken sandwich when it's in October, it was $6.95.
Mm-hmm.
In December, it came to $10.95. The other day I went and I bought one. This is just on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
No, sorry, Saturday. It was $12.95, I think it is. So I said, look, it gone up. The lady said, yes. So I look at the receipt. You know what my receipt had a breakdown and show me, which was very ridiculous.
Mm.
For a slice of tomato, a small thin slice, and
Mm-hmm.
also a piece of lettuce, they charge you $1 a piece. And the sandwich comes with these condiments already. But they do not tell the customer that they are charging you this. They just charge it on your thing and tell you it's an increase. But if you read the breakdown of the bill, I can even send you a copy of this to the breakdown on it. Lettuce $1, tomato $1. I don't believe that is right. Because
Mm.
how much you want to make off of one head of lettuce? $80 off a head of lettuce? Would anybody here buy a head of lettuce for $80? No, we won't. But give me the option. Because you go by the billboard, by where they have the signage to tell you how much the cost
So
for the
you're saying now,
stuff,
I'll be
but that's not.
let me just clarify. You're
Uh-huh.
saying that your invoice doesn't just say, deluxe chicken sandwich. It is showing an itemization of what's on the sandwich and what you're paying for that.
Sandy, I want to show it to you. Sandy, can I send you the picture on this number, or should I send it to the other number? Because I want you. I don't
Wow.
want you to think it's clout. I ain't. I ain't chasing no tail. I
Yeah,
ain't
yeah,
trying to
yeah.
get anybody in problem. But this has perturbed me. I even saved the receipt, and I said this is my last receipt from this company because I can't.
Mm.
No, I won't be duped. That's the most expensive lettuce and tomato I've ever spent on in my whole life. It hurts me, and this is almost 50 years of doing this and
Yeah.
living.
I mean,
So when I
it's
see this kind of things,
it's a
this is
bit
blatant robbery.
strange. Right.
Can I? Okay, can I send you the
Yeah, send him the other number is fine. But
I can send it
wow.
to you right now,
Yeah, so I'll make
but
some
this is
queries
blatant.
about what's happening there. Now I know, for example, I do know eggs. A lot of restaurants had to tack on when the eggs had increased because there was a shortage of eggs. They had
Yeah,
to tack on an additional fee for eggs. Really.
I
Um,
understand that, Sandra, but $1 for a slice of tomato and $1 for a piece of lettuce. So how much do you make off of each tomato? And what's the revenue on each lettuce? That I would like to see that
yeah.
number. Because this is ridiculous. But I'm
Mm.
gonna send you the picture of this so you know I'm not trying
Yeah,
to
no, no, no. Send it to me because I mean,
be facetious.
obviously, I will. And he is one of the business owners that I actually wanted to sit down with and have a conversation about what specifically is driving the cost because he does have multiple restaurants. Somebody just said in the comment section that maybe they need to stop using the best dressed chicken, although they say this is a better quality chicken and that's why they're using it because the best dressed chicken, comes at a more premium price.
Yeah, but Sandy, when you go into business, right, you have to calculate all these moving parts. And you have to know how to raise the prices and stuff. But it has to be logical because my logic tells me, okay, you got to pay your worker more. Okay, you have to put the cost back, or you're going to put the cost back to the people. That's a part of running business.
Yeah.
Yeah. But when you do things like this
Yeah, and you know
to
what
raise,
I find strange
no,
too,
this is
right?
crazy.
Yeah, and I find it strange that anybody in the restaurant business would actually itemize that. If they are doing that, that kind of
When I
that
saw it,
right. I'm right. You might as well just say,
when I
listen, the
saw
chicken
it, it
sandwich
really hurt me.
$12, but don't itemize it. That's crazy.
It hurt me when I saw it. It really hurt me. Like if they had told me this sandwich was $15, and that's
Mm-hmm.
because of the raise of price and or the increase, I would have been okay, fine. But when I'm reading through my receipt, because it made me have to look at my receipt even more deeply to see
Mm-hmm.
what they're
Mm-hmm.
charging, make sure they're charging me for the right things. But when I see this thing break down, it says lettuce $1, tomato $1, no
Mm-hmm.
pickles. I was like, I had to ask the lady, doesn't the sandwich come with lettuce and tomato already? She was like, but sir, yeah. I was like, okay, not your fault. Because I would never take out blame on the person who's at the window or who's working. That's not the owners. That's not the people who is putting these ludicrous prices on. So you can't get mad at the person who is serving you. So I looked at her, ma'am, no problem. Thank you. Somebody said I should have gave it back to him, but no. I just wanted to see what was the miracle of this lettuce and tomato. So I had to get it and try it myself. But it really hurt me. So I had to really reach out and let you know this. But it really hurt me. And plus, this is going to hurt the economy. And plus, this is only one of the stuff that I can talk about. I buy dog food. My dog food went to $10 a bag extra. And that's per bag. It's not like they did it per came 12 in a case and they did something that they put 50 cents in each one and it came up to the case
it costs
$12.
us even more to feed the pets now. Lord have mercy.
This what I'm telling you. So this is a trickle effect that's going to affect all industries. So when they came in at this minimum wage, I don't think they really thought about the effects. They say, oh, it won't affect Caymanians. Really? I'm a Caymanian. And it's killing me because Cayman is the highest cost of living in the world, which is beautiful because we're number one in the world when it comes to safety. So we pay for the ambience. Yeah. But at the same time, this minimum wage did not affect me where my pay went up. My pay didn't move because I'm way above minimum wage. But I get the effects of the pay of the when the retailers raise their prices. I gotta pay for all of this. Like you said, the person who work a basic job making minimum wage or a little above minimum wage and they have to have a helper at home. They have to have somebody to help them, a nanny or somebody. No, they could have paid that nanny before. No, how they're gonna afford to pay that nanny and go to work? And then they gonna say, okay, man, I don't want to work. So how that gonna happen? They're not making a way for it to happen. So it don't make sense. And they keep on trying to blame the fuel. Son, again, make you do some homework. Check out what the fuel was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. And that is the cost per crude oil for the barrel of oil. Back then, it was over $100 and something per barrel. As of just before Corona, it went under $100. And guess what? It has never returned. So why are we paying more for fuel now when we're paying less for the crude oil that breaks down to make the fuel? If they can answer me that, I can say, well, fuel is the reason why this is a drive of the society. But the product that makes the fuel is at its lowest, at its cheapest. But yet we're paying at the highest right now for the fuel, the byproduct of that. So when they talk about, oh, the bills in Cayman is because the fuel raising up. No, that's hogwash. That's hogwash. They gotta come up with a better explanation now.
Yeah. Well,
thank you very much. But I can send you this picture.
I'm gonna inquire. Right, yes, I appreciate it. I'm gonna inquire about this itemization because I've never seen a fast food restaurant itemize anything unless it's like an add-on, like you purposely wanted additional stuff. So I know, for example, when I go to Wendy's and I want a little packet of just a little nuts that you got about 4 nuts in, that extra $75. And you know, you ask for extra salad dressing, you can pay for that too. But thank you, my dear.
I can send you the ticket. So you have the bullet in hand when you're talking to the person who's in charge.
Very good.
Okay, thank you very much.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right, so yeah, we're going to ask some questions of some of these businesses just to clarify exactly what it is that's going on. Because yeah, I mean, it's crazy. And here's the other thing too, right? Like I said, we are going to break down and have a conversation around minimum wage. And so if you're interested in participating in that conversation, you're a small business that is now having to pay your staff even more, by all means, reach out. But let me give you an example of a discussion that I was having recently with someone that makes total sense. We got a caller on the line though. Good morning, caller.
Morning again, Sandra.
Morning.
I just wanted to clarify something that was said earlier. I was never for the minimum wage. I think that the minimum wage should have always been $0. But
so you
calling,
you believe that industry should dictate?
I believe that if I'm coming to work for you, and this is what you're offering me to pay, it's for me to either take it or leave it.
Okay, so you don't think that government shouldn't get involved in that?
I think government's only role is to ensure that the contract is being abided by. So if there's a breach of contract on either your end or my end, then government gets involved. That's where we go to court. Well, you agreed to pay him X amount, or
Right.
you supposed to be. But outside of that, I don't think that a minimum wage. I never thought a minimum wage. It's always going to lead to some inefficiencies. But while I'm on the phone, right, and while we're talking about restaurants and stuff, I just wanted to just share with you some of, if you'll allow me, just some of the things that may happen now because of minimum wage, especially in light of things like AI and automation and that kind of thing, right? Right now, we have restaurants in the state where we have what you call it, like places like Walmart and stores, and in certain restaurants around the world, not just in the States, where now they're moving toward automation. So less servers and more automation, right? Think about it.
Yes.
If I can replace 6 cashiers with 2 supervisors, right? I just set up self-checkout stalls. I can replace 6 cashiers and I just have 2 supervisors, even just 1 supervisor, right? I cut out people, so jobs are cut off now in order to keep my prices manageable, so that I can, so that the shrinkage stays manageable, right? I do that in my store. All of my competitors are going to feel the pressure to follow, all right? Because margins in grocery stores are thin. Yeah? And what that's going to mean, like I said earlier, fewer beginner jobs, higher expectations, because now you're going to be expected to be, all right, well, you have to be literate in technology. You have to be, loss prevention awareness and yada, 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 right? So you have fewer total human roles overall. Then in Cayman, where we talk about our hospitality industry, right? Service is a part of the experience, correct? All right, but when you have front of house wages that start rising and they already have high staff turnover and increase in training staff, owners are going to start asking, why am I paying for 4 servers when I can buy a couple iPads or a couple tablets that can handle the ordering, right? So you're going to have leaner staff modeling. You're going to have more counter service formats, right? You're going to have fewer learning roles for young workers coming in. And I'm just talking about the young Caymanians that may want to go into hospitality, since we're talking about restaurants and that kind of thing, right? That's going to change our tourism feel long term, right? And if the automation accelerates, let's project this now 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down the line, right? Instead of 20 entry-level workers, I'm a business owner. Instead of paying 20 entry-level workers, I know, okay, I'm going to get 10 tech-assisted workers, 2 supervisors, and maybe 1 IT support contract, right? The job count shrinks, but the skill bar rises, and then you get a divide. You have high-skilled managers or high-skilled tech-savvy operators, and then you have low-skilled individuals pushed out of the labor market, and then the middle just erodes. So what do we have there? Underemployment. We have informal side hustles. We have pressure on government assistance programs. And the thing is that the large businesses can afford the automation, but the smaller Caymanian-owned businesses cannot, right? So when you have that minimum wage hike and then the automation investment, you get the bigger players survive. The smaller ones are the ones that are going to struggle. That's just an example.
Oh, yes.
Right?
And not always, let me just say this too. It's not always the big players. It's the smartest players, the ones who know how to leverage technology, that there'll be a game-changing element to it there for sure. And it's happening. You're talking about restaurant business, but it's happening in every single industry that you can possibly think of.
Exactly.
Pretty much across the board, even in media. I mean, look at the world of media and how media has changed. Nobody in their right sense is printing newspapers anymore. Why are you wasting ink, the paper, when people not even picking up your newspaper? People want it online. They want it delivered through electronic platforms. They want it coming right to their inbox on WhatsApp and stuff like that. So anybody who gets into media in this day and age and still talking about they can print in a newspaper, I'm just like, huh? Why?
So in other words, what you're gonna get, right, is that the workers are not gonna be replaced by machines, and then the narrative is gonna shift from, oh well, we fought for higher wages, to, oh well, they replaced us, the machines are replacing us, AI is replacing
Right.
us, right?
Yeah.
Right, and then the resentment grows even more,
Yes.
especially among the young Caymanians trying to enter the workforce.
Right.
So I mean, to I'm sort of piggybacking off the previous caller who just called. He talked about minimum wage without putting other things in place. When you have a minimum wage policy, but you don't have a productivity policy or skills development or I mean, we always talk about rent going up and stuff, housing reform, rental reform, small business protection. It's incomplete, right? You can raise the wage floor, but if you shrink the job ladder, what have you built? Anyway.
Yeah. No, they're valid questions. Somebody says, well, they're using the compass to clean their glass mirrors. I mean, but you're not reading it. It wasn't designed to clean glass mirrors or to, some people use it for the bird cages and, stuff like that. But the truth of the matter is, again, all of these companies are looking across industries, are looking at ways to cut costs and to become leaner machines, right? So even when people want to laugh at me talking about, oh, I'm trying to use AI to do my news and whatever, I got to be the one who have the last laugh, because the AI tools are getting better. In a year from now, I got to be able to deliver a full news segment with AI people, and you're not even gonna know that the AI.
Sandra,
as soon as they learn how to pronounce Cayman, we good. We gone clear.
Sandra, right now, I watched in the news the other day. Just yesterday, they had it on one of my news channels. They were talking about this new AI company that's a part of ByteDance, the people that own TikTok. The Hollywood executives are now banding together, Warner Brothers, HBO, all of them getting Disney getting back together, because now
they get nervous about what it can do.
Not what they can do. They get nervous. This now new company has demonstrated there are videos out there of people writing whole movies with actors that already exist without their permission and intellectual property without their permission. I could get behind a computer and write a whole movie with AI, and that's now. You talking about next year, 5 years from now?
But I mean, I was mentioned this last week with the music industry. The Grammys and these traditional industries are up in arms because they don't know how AI is going to fully upend the music industry, because the number 2 spots right now for music trending online is 2 AI generated artists. They're not even real people.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So it's a chin world, that's for sure. Thank you so much, caller. I appreciate it.
I think we as a people just need to decide what it is we want. We can't have our cake and eat it too.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. But anyway,
one comment for you. Anthony says, "Who is this caller? He seems like a 2029 candidate for prospect."
Alfred Real, devil pro bono, no prospects for government whatsoever.
Have a good one. It's so funny that Anthony already is talking about prospect and change. Lord have mercy. Damien says, same with the phone book. That raises the bar and standard, not just a handout. Gabby says, hopefully cooked food don't start going up more. Fried chicken and oxtail gravy with some good rice and bean for $6 at Weller's is my bestie for now. Oh, God. Lord have mercy. All right, lots of comments coming in. Let's get to some of these. Lucky Body said earlier, do people not believe in hard work anymore? Well, so Anthony says, or Tartarian, my apologies, says that's exactly my story. It was $6 per hour. Many of these businesses should not be granted a business license. These owners would be better off going to work for a bigger company. But you can't tell somebody that, Tartarian, sorry. You can't tell a small business owner that, I think the industry will eventually teach them whatever lesson they need. They might not be able to do that. But imagine if every small business started out with that in mind, like, oh, I can't do this, or I shouldn't be doing this. I have to work for a bigger company. Small and medium-sized businesses are the ones that drive the economy. They're important. It's important to have, when you start to see attrition and businesses starting up, that's actually a really bad sign for your economy. It's important to have people try. And I mean, there's so many really great lessons that people learn from, not necessarily your first business is going to be successful, but you will learn lessons and stuff along the way, and you can take a business and make it successful. So I don't necessarily support the concept that, imagine if somebody said that to me, like, oh, why you started Mall Road? Why didn't you just go work for the Compass? We wouldn't have Cayman's #1 media house now if I took that attitude. Denny says, Sandy, will you be sending us a bill for this business 101 advice? Oh, God. KY Forever says, Sandy, to be honest, them Jamaicans ain't finna let KFC shut down. That's hilarious. Now, that is funny. Miss Marjorie says Amelia Restaurant is operating out of his house in Prospect because the owners of the place raised the rent. Jesse says some POS systems require a cost for modifiers. Maybe they just picked $1, but it was actually included in the sandwich price. I'm trying to get, I did send the receipt to the owner because you're right, Jesse, it depends. And it also, I think what might be going on here, if someone picked a special and the special didn't come with those items, but then they wanted lettuce and tomato. So, there's certain sandwiches that don't come with lettuce and tomato. And if you ask for those things, then obviously that will be an add-on. So I'm going to get an answer one way or the other, Jesse, in terms of what that is. Mr. Dean Shillette says cost of living will increase even more by summer with Trump's petroleum. What a hot mess. And there's lots of things that drive up the cost of doing business. Damien says, but then they hire security guards to watch those automated checkouts from theft or abuse. Miss Speak Your Mind says they had to cut all of her overtime. I think I missed the first one, but I have a friend who works for a popular cleaning company. Under the $6 an hour minimum wage, she was working $1,200 every 2 weeks. And now under the $8.75 minimum wage, she is going home with $800 every 2 weeks. And that's because they cut her overtime. Right. This is what I'm telling y'all. Because it still works out cheaper for them. Instead of paying you overtime at $8.75 rate, because remember that impacts not just your base salary, that impacts your overtime salary, plus what has to be paid into pension. Don't forget that, right? That's one of those line items a lot of us don't think about. And so, yes, a lot of businesses are doing that. And here's the other thing I was going to mention earlier. Take, for example, Foster's, right? Foster's from years ago raised their minimum wage. So this minimum wage did not have a direct impact on them because they were paying people above $8.75 anyway. Big shout out to Foster's. They have spent millions of dollars in increasing their staff wages. I know this for a fact. Don't ask me how, just take my word for it. And they've been improving their infrastructure, their IT. They're spending a lot of money, right? Which means that the owners are taking less profit. However, although minimum wage did not directly impact them because all of their workers say they're already making $9, $10 an hour, okay? Don't think that minimum wage hasn't indirectly impacted them. Here's an example. They use cleaning companies, say Reliable Industries, just as an example. What was Reliable Industries paying? Because if Reliable Industries was paying $6, $7 an hour, right? Now they have to pay $8.75 an hour. Guess what? Their bill to Foster's, and not just Reliable Industries, all the security companies who are paying $6 an hour, even to government, their bill now that the government and all these businesses is going to get has increased. So that is another line item increase for these businesses who themselves were not paying minimum wage. So we thought, oh, they're not going to be impacted by minimum wage. This is what we mean when we say unintended consequences. Yeah. So your bill for cleaning services just gone up. What are you going to do? Damien says these fast food places need to ask people if they need plastic, ketchup, etc., to cut down on costs and mount trash more. I think always a good idea because sometimes they're giving you forks and you going home. You don't need a plastic fork to add to the landfill. Anthony says people need to pay attention to global economics. These people that buy Best Dressed Chicken know that Best Dressed Hatchery in North Carolina chicks are shipped to Jamaica and raised by independent farmers. Is that safe? And fed by South American processed bag food. Best Dressed Chicken is no better than American chicken. In fact, Best Dressed is in major debt and required mega refinancing in Jamaica. I mean, I don't know how much the people who, the other businesses who buy Best Dressed Chicken are aware of these things. But yes, I mean, obviously, it's kind of part of being a business owner. Lewis says, when went AI fully release you all? Went? Fix that for me. So what do you think about news actors? Will they be replaced by AI? I think it's only a matter of time that industry will shift completely. And so you have to be ready for the shift. You have to kind of see what's coming. I mean, maybe there's certain jobs that they can't replace, but there will be a lot of jobs, including actors, that they do. Damien says, my car insurance is fully AI with live chat. Only time you speak to a human is when you're making a claim, and even that is time consuming. What a mess. Tartarian says voting people out is not the solution. What are doing to make your life better? Sitting around expecting to be spoon-fed and voting people out is stupid thinking. Well, I don't know what part of the conversation you were jumping in on, but there's some people that need to be voted out because they're actually not doing anything. Listen, I'm not one of those people who's sitting down expecting no politician to come give me a check in my hand or any handout, but they're there for the right policies. They're there to, at higher level, right, make our lives, somewhat more efficient, better. There are programs that you can't put a price tag on that government runs and operates for youth, for children, et cetera, et cetera. So they have a job to do. So you vote somebody out when they're not doing their job, not because they're not giving you a handout. So I want to be clear on what it is here that we're saying, right? Mm-hmm. So, yes, what a mess. How did a big business get that size? They started small. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you got to encourage entrepreneurship. Miss Marjorie says, well, this is hopeless. They don't even answer the phone. So one could place an order. Yeah, they want to look into some AI solutions for themselves. Lord Jesus. I can't with them. I just don't go there anymore. As much as I like their food, I like their food and their catering. Shout out to Raquel. If I'm having a catering event, I'm more likely to order from Wells than anybody else. But if I got to rely on going there or calling for a plate of food, no, sir. Strong Wilt says you can go to the corner restaurant and get a fried chicken for $6. Y'all be going corner restaurant still? Yeah, mess with y'all. Everton said I would suggest the young people stay in school, learn a skill, because corporation doesn't care about you. It's all about their profit. Stay in school and learn a skill. But who is that skill going to be used for? A corporation or yourself? Damien says this is against the immigration law. When a permit is approved, it asks how many hours a week if it's full time. So your employer's cutting your less hours. No. Damien, it's not that they're cutting the base hours, They can still give them the 40 hours per week that is in the immigration law or whatever it is, 40, 45 hours. What they're doing is they are cutting the overtime. So she's no longer making overtime. It was the overtime pay that was allowing her to make $1,200 per every 2 weeks. So then she's making $2,400 for the month. Now she's making $1,600. It's the overtime that drove that. What a hot mess. Speaking of security guards, says Anthony, like a writer wrote, what's the purpose of credit union having a security guard sitting outside the ATM 24 hours? Really? They have that? Does it make sense to repair the place and stop spending our dividends recklessly? Who's the director? Can you reach out to them? So wait a minute. What are you saying? I don't bank at credit union anymore, so I'm a bit lost here. Did something happen? Why they have someone there 24 hours? And how long has this been going on for? Denny says the law of unintended consequences was never repealed. You better believe that. That's like the law of physics. That's like Newton's law of, it's just a law of life, right? Murphy's law. What does Murphy's law says? If shit can happen, shit happens. This is life. I mean, and boy, trust me when I tell you that unintended consequences one, honey child, that's a big law in life. Hello, Miss Amelia. Damien says, well, I will say one thing. Popeye's best dressed chicken tastes way better than KFC barnyard tasting chicken. I can also testify. I don't try to eat fried chicken often, but when I do, I can't do Popeyes. Popeyes, I don't know if it's the oil that they use. I don't know what it is. Not Popeyes, my apologies. KFC. I eat Popeyes occasionally. I can't do KFC because KFC messes with my stomach. And I do have a little bit of a sensitive stomach, but KFC, honey child. First thing, Jamaican, yardy. First thing Marlon be like, oh, let's stop by KFC. You hungry? And I'm like, can I get some home cooking? Then again, I can't go around his people talking about no home cooking, child, because that can burn my stomach too. Because they can put so much curry and hot peppers and whatever. Oh my God. One time they did some, it was tasting, some, the roast conch. His brother's like, oh, you want to try some roast conch? I said, sure. Jeez, peace. Who tell me if I do that? The amount of peppers that man put, hot peppers in that, almost killed me. Oh God, when his mama come, you want me to cook you some curd chicken? I said, Jesus, no, please. I can't take any Indian curd chicken. Oh God, the curry is so hot. What a mess, honey child. Pick your poison. So the countryside ATM has the security guard there. Why? What are they there for? They don't have a camera? What a mess. Hey, Mr. George Fullerton in the house says MP do work on half of their constituents in their country, and they should MP do work on behalf, of their constituents in their country, and they should, according conventions, they sit on important committees, debate bills. In opposition, they present. Yeah, but some of them not doing none of that. I'm just saying. They're not even showing up, hardly ever, to Parliament. Making no contributions, nada. Oh, because you remember they tried to pull out the ATM with a backhoe? Okay. But the solution is to put a person there 24/7? Okay. I wouldn't have thought that was the solution. All right, few questions and then I got to run. This one says, oh gosh, hold on now. I can't read the top of this. What does that say? 1 second. This is going back to Mr. Miles, and they say the following. Let me just grab this screenshot here. Because they said they should have never been able, because they should have never been able to propose immigration fees to increase fees ahead of the implementation. He said he was going to do consultation because consultation was already done. Sorry, let me reread that. Starting over. Because they should have never been able to use proposed immigration fees to increase fees ahead of the implementation. He said he wasn't going to do consultation because consultation was already done. But when was consultation done if we haven't had revision in 15 years? Okay, I'm confused. But anyway, he said he wasn't going to basically do over the same thing that the last government already did. He said he took some of the feedback from the previous consultation to form the bill he presented to Parliament. Also, if I'm not mistaken, that question was asked on the floor of Parliament. Check with KB. I'm sure he would tell you. Well, clearly now we're backtracking. Re-immigration fees. Can you also ask if all the businesses who raise their fees citing new immigration fees and minimum wage as the reason, if they're going to reduce their fees again? Hot mess. Damien says yes, so he can lie down in front of the backhoe. Well, I can assure you he's not paying enough to do that. Oh my goodness. AI is not for the people, and when it fully released, we will be wishing for dark days again, meaning days without technology. Well, we will never have days without technology, and I'm pretty sure no one is ever wishing for that either. I mean, imagine days without technology. What does that mean? No electricity, no online banking, no podcasting like this. What the hell does that mean? Days without technology. Technology is here to stay, honey child. You better learn it and learn how to embrace it. Marilia says some have not been seen in their constituencies since the election. No surprise there. All right, beautiful people, I got to go. Y'all have a beautiful day. Oh God, I can't even open Facebook without Trump chase coming up. Oh my God. All right, we're not gonna talk about him. Monday, let's talk a little bit about the Vibes cartel situation. Y'all up in your feelings about that. There's a simple explanation as to why he got a work permit this time, but we can certainly touch on that on Monday's program. And Monday, I'll be back in the beautiful Cayman Islands, and I can get y'all all caught up. So yes, protecting the ATM, you don't protect it by having someone stand there. What is that person going to do? Again, technology, okay? What they need to do, and this is such a simple solution because damn, you can get a Ring camera that's going to notify you when certain things show up on the location. So just get an AI camera that can tell you when certain things are happening so that you'll know in real time when the next backhoe comes and trying to take it, not the morning after. What? Use technology. Remember, you're talking about this 9:40 where you go into the show ends at 9:30, honey chill. Abby says, time waits for no man and neither will technology. Kaboom! You better believe that one. Anyway, yeah, they need to be smarter because you can actually have your cameras alert you with certain situations if you got smart enough cameras, right? And in those situations, then you would quickly alert the police who are just 5 minutes up the road. They should be able to get there before the backhoe even drives away. I'm just saying. Okay. That's it, good folks. I'm out of here. Have yourselves a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you on Monday morning. Until then, be good or be good at it.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Cold Hard Truth on Bobo 89.1 FM. Cayman's #1 talk show is live weekdays from 7:30 a.m. Never miss an episode again. Watch anytime on CMR's Facebook and YouTube channels for the latest show episodes. Don't forget to follow us online on our social media channels and visit CaymanMarlRoad.com for all the latest news and community happenings.